Yes.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Can I just check that you can all see me and hear me okay before we carry on?
No.
Yeah, if you can add I'm
Yes.
looking you're muted, so you can just say out loud at the moment, or put it in the chat room, and Katerina will read it to me. I just wanted to make sure because it's slightly different format today. But in any case, welcome to the Italian Vegan. Today is going to be a really fun day as we're making.
But it would be good
together. What I wanted to do, some good news as well, is that I have now a lot of you have asked me for access to the recipe, the written recipes as well, apart from the video, because I know that it's not that easy. Then you want to redo a dish that we did a few weeks ago to watch the whole video. So I have found a new home where I'm going to put all the it has a library section where I'm going to store all the recipes, so you can have access to it. And in a minute, after we get these dishes going, I'm going to go onto a computer and show you how to register, how to access it. Okay, first of all, before we start, I want to say thank you again to all of you that have contributed to Buy One Give One, and to our good causes and the impacts that we're making. This week, all the money that is raised is going towards giving seeds to subsistence farmers in Cambodia. And those seeds are obviously they're going to be enough for them to be planted and to produce food of them for the whole year. When you realize that only $1.85 gives them enough seeds that one planted and grown can give them food, to feed one person for a whole year, it makes you realize, how lucky we are here in this country. So the money that we've raised will feed the whole family now for the whole of next year. So it's something that there are little impacts. So whatever we can do that improves somebody else's life, as we smile, we make somebody else smile as well. Okay, enough about this. Now let's get on to today's food. So we're making gnocchi, which is basically, as you know probably, a kind of like a type of pasta made mainly with potatoes and flour. So the ingredients that we need some 1 kilogram of potato. This is enough for 4 people, but it's you can store these. You can put them in the fridge if you want to cook them tomorrow, or you can even freeze them. And these are really good frozen because when you want to cook them, you can put them straight in the water, in the boiling water, without any need of defrosting them. So we have potatoes. So 1 kilogram of potatoes, 300 grams of flour. Now I'm using 00, as you can see, extra fine 00 flour. Okay, if you haven't found that one, a general type, something like this one will do as well. An all-purpose Italian flour. It's close enough. And you can also use, actually I've used today a little bit of this as well, which is semolina flour, which is basically durum wheat flour. So it's what it does, it's a little bit harder than the normal flour, so it gives the gnocchi a little bit more texture. Okay, so this is what we need for the gnocchi itself. Then for the sauce, we're going to make 2 sauces. One is what is traditional in Rome, which is burro e salvia, that means butter and sage. And for that one, what I'll be using? I'll be using this butter, which is obviously a vegan butter, vegan block, which is the best I've found so far. Using fresh sage leaves, as you can see. Nice aromatic fresh sage leaves. And you're using vegan Parmesan. They are already grated. This is the one, again, this is the one I'm using, okay? So you know exactly what you have. Obviously, if you're not vegetarian and you eat animal cheese, then you can use normal Parmesan. That's one. And for the second sauce, we'll be making pesto again, but we'll make it in a shortcut. So we'll make it in the blender today. So we'll need fresh basil leaves for that. We'll need some garlic. I'm going to be using 3 cloves of garlic. They're already cleaned. And we'll use some more of the Parmesan again. And we use some good quality olive oil.
George says how much Parmesan hadn't been grated yet.
Okay, how much Parmesan, George? For the pesto, we'll need about one, depending on how much you're making, but if you make enough for 2 or 3 people, one good handful of Parmesan, and probably twice as much for the other dish. So let's say roughly about 3 handfuls of grated Parmesan. Okay, so what we want to do now, I just want to put the potatoes in a pan where we're going to cook them. Now, ideally, you want to use not new potatoes, but this is exactly what I'm using. Simply for the simple reason that we subscribe to a organic box that comes every week, and they send us a lot of potatoes. And this is what we got at the moment, so we're going to be using them. The reason why it's better not to use new potatoes for this dish is that because they absorb too much water, and we'd rather use something. It's better if you have something a bit bigger as potato when you're cooking them. Okay. So I'll fill the pan with enough water, basically just to cover the potatoes. We just need to cook them until they're soft. Okay. So I'm going to be putting a couple of.
There's not Carol saying there's some background noise.
Okay, can you?
Interface, is everyone on mute?
Can you please make? Thank you, Carol. Can you please all make sure that that you are muted, so there is no background noise. Okay, we put a couple of spoonful of salt. So I need a little bit more water in there. And we put this on a high flame because we just basically need to. We can't carry on doing this dish until the potatoes are cooked. So we'll put it on a high flame, cover it. So we'll cover it, and what we'll do, we'll bring it to the boil, and then it'll take about. It should take about 20 minutes. Roughly, depending on the potatoes, it might take a little bit longer. Okay, now, back in the kitchen now. This is more to a more familiar setting. Let me start having a look at the potatoes and see how we're doing here.
Can you just ask if Evelyn managed to get through? Because she says, can you send me email to translator.eve@gmail.com?
Sorry?
Evelyn says, can you please send her an email to translator.eve to an email address? Have you sent it or not?
I've sent Evelyn. I've sent an email to all the people that registered for the event, but I will make sure. Don't worry about it because we'll concentrate on cooking now. Then I'll make sure that I'll check if the email has gone through to you. Otherwise, I will send another one with all the links. So don't worry about it. You will.
Same with Carol.
Carol, I saw you registered on the on Genius U, so your email should have gone through. Probably that was an older. It's an older message, Katerina. Okay. What we will do, let's say I'll do the gnocchi here on here, but what we need to do as well, we need a place where we can put the completed gnocchi to rest them before we cook them. So what I want you just to do, get an oven tray, something like this will do, and add flour in. Okay, so just make sure that the gnocchi don't get stuck. Okay, so make sure that there's enough flour on there. So we can, once we have prepared them, we will put them in there, on there. Right.
What did we do with the flour, Luca? Sorry.
To be cooked, but it's not. Can you make sure that everybody's muted?
Luca?
One participant should show a chance to mute everybody. Okay. Okay, so I just need my pan. Okay, now while we're waiting for the potatoes to be ready, let's start preparing one of the sauces. Let's start preparing the.
What did you do with the flour? What did you do with the flour? I was posting on Facebook and missed
sure.
it.
This is what I did with the flour, Rosalind. So Katrina, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so I just basically got like an oven tray. You can use whatever you got. You can use a paper plate or whatever you like. And then just put some flour on top because we're going to rest the gnocchi once we've prepared them on here before we cook them. Okay, otherwise they will stick. So I was saying we can start preparing the pesto together. So we'll have garlic, Parmesan, olive oil, and pine nuts. Pine nuts, okay? And today we're going to do like a cheat. So we're going to do them in a blender so it can be ready in 2 minutes. So we use a Gnocchi bullet. So we're just going to put them in there. So the first thing we want to do is just remove the stems from the basil. We're only going to be using the leaves. So let's just the stems are, by the way, they're lovely in a salad, so don't throw them away. If you're having a salad or whatever, just put them in there. I love herbs in salads, by the way. I use a lot, basil, parsley, whatever you have, whatever fresh herbs you have and you grow in the garden, use them for salads because they're absolutely amazing. Okay, so the first thing we do, I will get 1 handful of pine nuts. You see now I'm measuring however your hand is. And we got another handful here that's asking for some pine nuts to taste. On my camera. So it's just one handful of pine nuts here. Okay, this is what it looks like. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just toast them briefly in a pan with nothing on, just okay. That's the pine nuts. There is no oil, no nothing. I just want to toast them. So put them on a low flame. Okay, and just toast them on there for a few minutes while I get everything ready. And just sorry, it's coming to the limit. The other thing I will get ready, because if I put the garlic in the blender, everything will stick. So I'm going to do the garlic separately. Sorry?
Everything has to be.
Hi Evelyn, sorry you have to leave, but I'll see you. We'll post the video later, so you'll be able to follow it.
And your YouTube videos at Pesto.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you, Evelyn. See you soon. Okay, so I might turn the heat up so you can accelerate the process. So what we want to do is just briefly toast them to get some of the moisture out of the nuts, and keep an eye on the potatoes when they are soft, and your fork can go in the potatoes quite easily. It means that they're ready. And mine are pretty much 1 or 2 minutes away from that. So we'll soon be doing the potatoes. So might not have the time to do the pesto before, but we can definitely toast the pine nuts. The pan is getting hot. We don't want to burn them, by the way. Okay, so if they start to getting burned, just turn the heat off. Okay, so the first thing we'll do, we'll put the pine nuts in the blender and we'll give them a pulse, very very quick pulse. With that, then we'll add the basil and the Parmesan, and then we will combine it together with the garlic, but without putting it in the blender itself. Okay. I don't know if you're used to cooking with these pine nuts, but they're possibly my favorite nut. They're so delicate. Absolutely lovely. The other things I actually have grown up to love, although eating, just not for cooking, are macadamia nuts. And the Australian nuts, they're so rich and buttery, they're absolutely delicious to eat. Okay, while that is doing, my potatoes are now ready. So I will drain my potatoes. Sorry. Turn the heat off for the potatoes, and I go and drain them and let them cool down a little. And to do gnocchi, we have to work the potatoes while they're still warm, because otherwise they don't combine as well. But obviously, at the moment they are boiling hot, so I will not be touching them quite so soon. And I feel the pan again that we need to cook the gnocchi. Okay, so get some more water. And then the usual, so this is the usual thing, like when you're cooking pasta, about two-thirds of a pan of water. And put it back. We'll put it back here to start cooking. I'll put it on a low heat because we got time before it boils to prepare the gnocchi. Okay, these are ready. As you can see, they started coloring up a little bit. Okay. So what we do now, I'll put these in the blender and give them a quick. Sorry, let me show you the other way so you can see it. Be careful because the pan is hot, so you don't want to blend yourself. Yeah, my grandmother had practically hands that were they were made of metal, yes, because she could touch pans that were so like red hot, and she would never feel anything. Where is the blade? So put this on, and I'll give you a quick run on the processor. Now excuse the noise. Okay, as I said, literally 2 seconds, that's all we need. As you can see, it has has got stuck a little bit to the sides, but just loosen it. Okay, now I'm going to put, what we need is about 3 handfuls of basil leaves, which I got not by chance, actually. I got another stem to get rid of, which I pretty much measured before. This was a bag of cut basil leaves I got from the supermarket, as I didn't have enough enough basil at the moment in my garden to do this. Okay, so 3 handful of basil leaves. And we need to add some salt. I'm using some sea salt here. So about just a bit less than a spoon of sea salt. And where's the oil? And I'll try to begin with, I think it's going to be about 60 ml of olive oil. Okay, actually one of these. I'll let all the precious olive oil get on there. We'll place back on. And we want to put this in a blender for as little time as possible because the basil really doesn't like heat. So we really want to pulse it for a couple of seconds. Give you another quick pulse. Okay, so we have got basil, as you can see, all pulsed.
Is the garlic also in the blender?
The garlic is not in the blender. I'm going to do it separately.
Rosaline.
It tends to, you know, just like try. You can put it in a blender if you want, but I've tried a couple of times in the blender and it just sticks, makes everything stick. So I thought today I will do it. I'll do it separately. Instead of doing it in the, you can put it in the blender if you want, and there's no big deal. I'm just crushing it separately. Okay.
Rosaline says, what was in the blender? Nuts, basil, what did she say?
A little bit of salt.
So she had what was in the blender? Nuts, basil, olive oil, anything else?
A little bit of salt, Rosalind. A little bit of salt. I put a little bit less than a spoon of salt. And I would put 1 handful of Parmesan now. You can actually just combine this. That doesn't need to go back in the blender. You just want to make sure they combines well. Like this. Okay, so the pesto is now ready. As you can see, just a couple of minutes. Obviously, it takes a lot longer if you are doing it by hand with pestle and mortar. But that's it. So the pesto is ready, and the other sauce we'll do later. Now, let me get the potatoes in here so we can work them together. Sorry, just a second. Okay, what we need to do now, we just need to peel the potatoes. Should be quite easily. You don't need a potato peeler because they peel off very easily with your fingers.
Right. This is from Deborah. Is there any substitution for nuts if allergic to nuts?
That's a good question, Deborah. I never thought of it for pesto, but I suppose you can do it without nuts. Just get something. I've never tried preparing pesto. I know that that's one of the main ingredients by nuts, but I'm sure that the taste will still be there without nuts as well.
And Carol asks, how long does this pesto keep if made a bigger batch?
Pesto, once you've made it, you can freeze it. So you can obviously the basil itself, when it's fresh, wouldn't freeze very well, but once you made it into a pesto sauce, it freezes very well. If it's fresh, it would last possibly 4 or 5 days if you keep it in the fridge. But so you can freeze it and it will keep for months. So once you peel the potatoes, put them in a.
Thank you.
Put them somewhere. Obviously, the potato will be hot. They have to be hot. They're meant to be hot. We don't want to cool them down. So that's why I'm using. You can use a tea towel or or a rag, whatever you've got, to make sure that you don't burn your hands. So once peeled, and go in there.
And they can be made with eggs, can't they?
Sorry.
They can be made with eggs. But
yes, Katrina, speak louder so we can.
I said it can be made with eggs, but this is vegan. So
yes, this is that's a good point by Katerina. This is the vegan gnocchi, which pretty much is the same recipe. The only difference is that in the non-vegan recipe, there is 1 egg in the mix with the potatoes and the flour. But to be honest with you, you don't really need it. It's perfectly lovely without the egg. We actually had a trial run the other day just to make sure, whenever I do a new kind of like a dish they haven't cooked for a little while, always make sure that I trial it a few days before, and it came out absolutely delicious. So you don't need to worry about the egg.
And Francesco's due to go out because he's waiting for his friends.
Oh yes, Francesco is going to meet his friends later. He said he's waiting until lunch is served because he didn't want to miss him, especially knowing that he was having gnocchi. It's actually grown up a little bit spoiled because obviously he's had all these lovely dishes that started right from the beginning, from when he was like a newborn baby. Because Katerina had, I remember she had this. Possibly a lot of you must have used it as well. She had the Annabelle Carmel book. There's so many lovely recipes for for babies. I always felt a bit jealous because there'd never be any left for me.
You used to sit there hoping there was some left, but then never was.
I was hoping that Francesco would leave some, but he never would. The little gummy.
And the story of the plane when we bought a pot.
Oh yes, we were once when we were going to Italy. Francesco was was less than a year old, and we had obviously we had his milk ready, just we needed to be warmed up, and he had just started eating a little bit of solids. So we had already started giving him some good little dishes, and we gave the milk to the flight attendant on the plane to warm up, and his colleague, you know, she put it there on the side, waiting to warm it up because there was something else in there, in the whatever they use to warm things up, and his colleague just threw it out of the plane. Basically, just put it in the trash bin, which went flying somewhere out of the plane. So basically, we didn't have anything for Francesco to give him because we hadn't brought a lot, as obviously we are going to my parents' house. So we didn't have many supplies with us, as we had everything in the suitcase. So as soon as we got to the airport, obviously he was very hungry by then. So we bought one of these you know, ready-made baby food, baby pots. And I must say that, you know, I had a taste myself. It was so disgusting. Francesco refused to eat it full stop, even if he was very hungry. It was only about when we had then we managed to find some Parmesan cheese already grated. We put some of that in there. Then he decided that yes, it was okay after all, and he could eat it. It was quite fun that they always said, no, I'm not having that. Just not touching this stuff. And we had, you know, some of you have seen me use the Thermomix, which is that the big white kind of like robot that we use for the kitchen. That we bought it especially when Francesco was born. So he's now, that machine is 18 years old, and it's fantastic because it's still going strong now. And it's that machine that allowed us to, you know, to cook and liquidize all his food in there, and it was absolutely brilliant. So we did some fantastic little dishes for him in that machine, and we could all cook and steam and, you know, and turn heat, and we could actually prepare risotto in there automatically, which is amazing.
Great cheese.
Yeah, great cheese, crush ice. You know, you can make a margarita with it.
Things.
Yeah, you can weigh. You can use it to make bread.
Steam.
You know, yeah, steam, absolutely everything. And it was quite expensive because it was about, you know, £700-800 at the time. This was like 20 years ago, so it was very expensive. The fact that it's still going strong now, it shows you that, you know, when you buy quality, then it lasts a good old time.
How's Rosalind getting on with her potatoes?
Yeah, Rosalind, are you getting on with your potatoes? Oh, by the way, one thing that you will need for the gnocchi is a slaughter spoon, because we're not going to, with the gnocchi when they're made, they're very, very delicate, and it's very easy to ruin them. Okay, so we don't drain them with the colander. We use a slaughter spoon to get them out of the water when they're cooked, because one of the fun things on gnocchi is that when you put them in the pan and when they are ready, they float to the surface. So they're easy to fish out with a slaughter spoon, but obviously you don't want to, that's why you need a slaughter spoon, because you don't want to fish out all the water as well. Oh, these potatoes are still very hot. So I'm almost finished with peeling my potatoes. How are you doing? Are you getting there? Let's see. If you need any more time, just let me know, because I could wait a couple of minutes before I carry on with the combining the flour as well. This is my last potato. Okay, so So let me know who needs a little bit more time, or if you're ready to carry on with the next step. Let me just get rid of
Rosalind,
this.
I've peeled most, one is still cooking.
Oh wow, it's been there a long time, Rosalind.
What did she say?
Should be ready now.
Need a couple of minutes.
Couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. Just remove away all the peels.
And George says, more time, please, 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, we can wait a couple of minutes. Wash my hands. What I will do, I will give a little bit more attention to my pesto as we go a couple of minutes. Waste this. We've got all this goodness. We don't want to waste any, or the one that's collected around the blades. So. A good mix. And before we'll be using this, I'll make sure that it's the right taste. So we want to give you a quick taste. Make sure I get all the bits that are around the glass, so they're all nice and combined together. Get Katerina to have a little taste as well.
Lovely.
Lovely. Nice, isn't it? So the pesto is ready. The other sauce, which we'll be making in a minute, but it's a butter-based sauce, so we'll be doing it a little bit later once we start with the gnocchi, because otherwise we don't want to keep the butter frying for a long time. So this is ready. The only thing we will need to do before we use the pesto sauce is just loosen it up a little bit with some of the cooking water when we are ready to go. Okay, so I'll just start getting my instruments in place. Okay,
Okay, Rosalind's ready. All peeled. Just waiting for George now.
Okay, George, let us know if you're ready. We will need a potato masher.
George says, okay, 33 burns on my fingers, but I'm done.
Fantastic, George. Yes, it means that you've done a good job. That's why I use something like that, because it's very hot. So we just need to mash the potatoes, basically. So get a masher and get working. I don't know if you want to come and show you. So mash them as finely as you can. I'll just turn my water down because it's boiling already. Actually, I'll turn it off for a minute. We don't need it quite yet. I just get Francesco to quieten down a little bit. I was very loud.
Right, we have a question from Hilary. Could you peel then boil?
Yes, you can, Hilary. But there are 2 reasons why we don't. One is that it's a lot quicker to peel when they're already boiled, and secondly, you don't want the potatoes to absorb too much water. So that's the reason why you cook them with the skin on. Those are the 2 main reasons. But you can try to say when you know the recipe. You always like cooking. For me is a lot of trial and error.
So try doing it with the potatoes pre-peeled and see how it comes out. Okay, so we got this in there. All we need to do now is combine the flour. Now, these are still quite hot, but with the flour will cool it down a little. We will add also a pinch of salt. So literally just one pinch of sea salt, maybe two. And we now add the flour. I mean, there is nothing else, honestly, it's so simple. We're just potatoes and flour. So we got 1 kilogram of potatoes, and I've got here 300 grams of flour. Okay, using double O flour. And I'm actually mixed some semolina as well. So you can see here, and if you can come close, Katrina. The white flour is double O flour. The yellow one is durum wheat semolina. So I've had a bit of both, but it's mainly double O flour. And what you want to do now, just combine them with your hands. So get your hands dirty. Making sure that all the flour is being slowly absorbed by the potatoes. And it will come out basically as like dough that you prepare when you make bread or when you make pizza dough. So getting there. Make sure this flour left at the bottom of the bowl that you combine it. You combine it well together. Okay, we are getting there. So what I will do now, I will get board, like a cutting board. Put a little bit of flour on top. Okay, just make sure that the potatoes are absorbed the whole flour. You can see we got a nice big fat bowl of potatoes. Okay, just mix it up a little bit more. Sorry?
Rosalind and George, are they okay?
Rosalind and George, are you fine?
George says that is like my biscotti dough.
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
And says all good here.
Okay, so what we do, we'll combine them. Make sure that we got a workable dough. Okay. And now we can start preparing. We can start preparing our gnocchi. Okay. You can see now it's a nice bowl of dough. This is all we have. Okay. Okay, what we need to do now, we will need we only need a fork and a knife. Okay. We cut out a little bit of dough and we roll it to make to make a sausage. It's about, you will want it not too thick. Okay, something about like this. Okay, and then what we do, we just pass the fork on the top just to create some ridges. Okay, we do it on one side and we do it on the other. And then we cut the gnocchi in about, let's say, 1 centimeter. You don't want to make it too big because otherwise you get, when you eat them, you get a big lump of potatoes and not a lot of sauce. And just to finish them off, I just rounded them up basically, or the edges, just not to make them square. It doesn't really matter how you make them, to be honest with you. But just, I think it looks a little bit prettier. Let me just make some room here. Okay, so once we have finished preparing them, we can put them on a tray. And we carry on with the process. Okay, so we cut another bit of dough. This is a lot. Again, we just re-roll it. You can make them as small or as big as you like them, to be honest with you. I like them quite, you know, not too big. But it's all down to taste. So there is no complete right and wrong in this. Just do them as you like them. Again, once you've done your sausage, you just pass your fork, the back of the fork on one side, and then do the other side. Okay. And then cut them. Shape them a little and put them away. If they're getting a bit too sticky, please add some flour on your cutting board. My hands are getting very sticky. So. And carry on with this process until they're all done. So let's see who can finish first. I'm going to wash my hands a little bit because this is uncomfortable. Okay, this is my fault for having used new potatoes, as the doughs come a little bit too fresh, too much water in there. But it will do. Okay, carry on doing the same thing. What I'm doing by using a little bit of flour, I'm just like compensating for the amount of water that's in the dough. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing. Jenny, is Jenny on today? Let me just check, because she said that she had a gnocchi shaper.
No.
No? Oh, I would have been curious to see how that worked. I never used one.
Was she not going on holiday, was it?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I thought that she was coming, but maybe I was wrong.
George, we have right, George says we have one somewhere, but I can't find it.
Okay, I actually never used one. I've got to be honest with you. I don't even know what they look like, to be honest. So often you see there is a kind of a cutting board that is used for gnocchi that's already ridged. So you don't need to use a fork. You can just like roll it on the ridge, and have the same effect. Okay. There is one thing I wanted to say. When you judge the quantities to, for feeding people, it's slightly different from pasta, because pasta swells to about double the size because it absorbs a lot of water, where these won't. So you will need. We normally allow about 250 grams per person. So if you consider today we use like about 1 kilo of potatoes and 300 grams of flour, that should be really enough for five people.
Where are you feeling hungry, so you don't need as much pasta?
Well, I don't know who said that. I don't know who said you don't need as much, but I love it. So although they are filling, I do love a good plate of gnocchi. And when you have, I find that when you actually make them at home, they are a lot lighter than the ones that you buy. Okay, carry on with the sausage making here. This is what takes possibly the most time, is actually make the gnocchi, by hand. But they cook very quickly. Won't take more than a couple of minutes, to cook. And another thing you got to be careful of the gnocchi is that when you, apart from the fact when you take them out, but also when you put the condiment that you've chosen on the gnocchi, you don't want to mix them like you do with pasta, because they're so delicate. So really what you want to do, you want to layer it. You put one layer of gnocchi, and then one layer of sauce, and then another layer of gnocchi, another layer of sauce, like this. Because if you start mixing them in the bowl like you do with pasta, then you will end up with a horrible mess.
You can do that with the
on the plate.
ones, but not these.
Sorry?
You can do it with the bought ones, but not these.
No, fair enough. Yeah, Katrina was saying, yes, you can do it with the ones you buy from the supermarket, but those are not, they're not as delicate as these. Okay, if you are keeping this to freeze, then give them a good dusting of flour on the top as well. And possibly if you the best way to keep them generally is on a paper or cardboard tray, and then cover them either with paper or with cling film. But be careful with the cling film; it doesn't stick to it. Okay, You're all getting on. I'm about, I would say, a little bit more than halfway. The other sauce that I will show you later is just basically a flavored butter, and it's a way that we've grown up to gnocchi in Rome. It's just like with butter and sage, and it's such a very delicate taste. It's basically a little variation on the butter and Parmesan cheese. It's possibly the easiest way to serve pasta. But this one is like you flavor the butter with the sage. You can also use use other things if you don't have sage instead of. Like you can flavor the butter with either thyme or rosemary. But in each case, you keep the herbs in one piece. You don't cut them in pieces, but you keep like in a little bunch that you flavor in the butter, as I'll show you later. Or with the whole leaves, rather than making them cutting them into small pieces. So we're almost at a full tray, so I'm going to have to find a different surface for the gnocchi. Yeah, would you find something another place to lay them?
There's a tray in that little oven.
Would you get it? I'll go with dirty hands. I think I'm on my last row of with a little more flour. So how's everybody getting on? Has anybody managed to get to the end of the sausage making? Okay.
Miles and miles. And all rolled and ready, like making biscotti, isn't it? All rolled and ready to start making biscotti and just as messy. That's
yes, exactly. George. That's what I said. That's what I said at the beginning. Get ready to get your hands and the kitchen obviously dirty. So this is one of those things. George, if you finish, give them a little dusting as well on the top with flour. It will help. Okay, I'm going on to the second tray now. I'm still a few minutes away from finishing mine. Yes, please, Katrina. Yes, we can do it from the corner. In the meantime, yes, Katrina was saying you can start putting your water on. So we'll be ready to start cooking them soon. Okay. Already boiling? No, that's no problem. So as you can see, also there's 3 of us here, so we've got far too much to eat in one go. So we will be probably. I don't think we put it in the freezer, but probably these will be gone tomorrow. Okay, I wanted to ask a question to those of you that are cooking with me. How many of you are you all trying both sauces? Because that's what I wanted to show you, or simply because of the quantities. I just wanted to make sure that I give you the right quantities to do. If you are preparing both sauces, then obviously we'll be using less butter. But for for this quantity of gnocchi, would be, if you're just doing the gnocchi, butter and sage, you'd be using about 100 grams, maybe a little bit, maybe slightly more of butter. But obviously, if you're doing half and half, then you need to have that quantity.
Yes, George said both, please.
Okay, good to know. The water is already boiling, so I'll just turn it down. Just turn it down. Okay, well, I'm almost there. Okay, so just the last batch, and then we can get going with the sauce and the and the cooking of the gnocchi. Okay, as I said, if you keep some for later, make sure you give them a good dusting of flour on the top. Like I think we'll keep the small tray for tomorrow, and we'll do the big tray now. It's I don't know you, but I always when I'm cooking, I also develop quite a powerful appetite. So when it gets to this point, my stomach starts making some funny noises. Okay, so these will keep for later. So keep put a little bit of flour on top. The others will be ready to cook in a minute. Wash my hands. Okay, this spoon in the dishwasher. Okay, so this is the slotted spoon that we will need. Now, please don't pay attention to all this mess. Try to look beyond it. Okay, so I need to make some room here for the sauces and everything else. So that's a good way of covering the mess. Okay, so what I do, I put the pasta here, the cooking water on the bigger hob. And as usual, if you remember, it's the same as when we're cooking pasta, so we'll be putting two tablespoons of salt in the water. Before we start with the gnocchi, we get the sauce going. So,
what's that you've just put in, Luca?
I can't hear Rosalie.
sorry, Rosalie.
What did you just put in the saucepan?
Oh, and the sauce. I'll show you in a second, Rosalind. What I'll be doing, we'll put in just some butter.
Okay.
Okay, so the amount for this whole thing, is that not muted? Could you mute it, Katerina? Sorry. Or you can't hear it from the
Sultry pasta.
Oh, sorry. For the pasta, put two tablespoons of salt. Okay, and here I'll be using. We got quite a lot of gnocchi, so generally for this whole amount, you'll be using about half a pound of butter. We'll be using a little bit less, about a third. So put that in the pan. Turn it on. We can melt the butter, and we just get some fresh sage leaves, basically all in one piece, and we stick them in there, just in one. As I said, in one piece. We don't want to cut them. That'll be more than enough. Enough sage. So we just wait for the butter to melt. And we let them basically take the flavor of the sage. So there's nothing more than that really. With just a pinch of sea salt. And that is it. So we can let this going for a couple of minutes before we start putting the gnocchi in. While it's all melted and starts bubbling. So we use this then to on the gnocchi when they are cooked. I can already taste the sage in the butter. After a few minutes, it will be a lot stronger as well. Okay, so the water is boiling now. So we can start cooking the gnocchi. Now, the thing is, we're not going to put them all at once because they would easily stick together. So what I'll do, I'll put a few at a time, and then as they start cooking and floating to the surface, we'll add more. You can have a look in the pan. Make sure that they're not too close together. You want the butter to be on a low heat, by the way. You just want it to simmer. And this is another very, very quick sauce. I mean, this is, you know, by the time the gnocchi are ready, be ready to be used. So,
It's salt in the pot with water. That's called Rosalie.
yes, Rosalind, as usual, as when we cook the pasta, we put like 2 tablespoons of salt in the water. So as I said before, we're not going to mix the gnocchi together too much because they just fall apart. So we're just going to layer them in the plate. So what I'll do, as I said, this is the pesto. It's quite solid. You know, it's quite solid in texture. So I will loosen it up by adding a little bit of the cooking water. Can you show a little bit how the gnocchi are starting to float? I just use a few spoonfuls of the cooking water to loosen up the gnocchi. Sorry, the pesto. Make sure that it's kind of like it's an easy sauce. We can turn off this as well. No, right now it's cooked. And you can say we can just take the gnocchi as they float, and I'll put them straight on the plate. So I'll have 2 different plates and I've got 2 different sauces. As I'm doing this, sorry, can you move back a little? I carry on then, as the gnocchi is starting to float, just put the other gnocchi in, as this will sink to the bottom while the other ones are floating. So I carry on taking this out. And I put the rest of my gnocchi in now. Maybe I'll leave some, not all of them, because there's not enough room. I still need to have another go. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get this to get quite fluid. Not too much, but you want it to start falling easily from the spoon. That's it. That's right. Just about right. Okay. So what we do with the pesto, we just basically spoon it on top.
Right. So Rosalie wants to know how long they cook for.
Rosalie, it only takes 2 or 3 minutes, and they start floating to the surface. So I put a layer of pesto on top, another spoon, and put a layer of the butter on these as well. So a couple of, and you can use like a nice leaf as well. And then each layer for this, obviously, the pesto already had the cheese on top. This one hasn't, so we'll have to add a layer of cheese. And then we do it again. And now we put another layer of gnocchi on top. And same here. If the butter starts getting hard again, just put it back on the hob for a few seconds. Okay, so that's another layer here as well. Put some here. There. I'll put the rest of my, now these should all fit in. I said, Rosalina, just make sure that the gnocchi are ready, cooked once they float to the surface. Okay, so it's very easy to judge.
We just cooked one batch.
Carry on, just carry on, don't worry. It's,
what's the layering, please?
you just each layer, you put some sauce on top. And with the one, the sage, butter and sage, you can add some of the sage as well. Because the leaves are lovely too. And then each layer, you add Parmesan as well. Where the pesto, you just put the sauce on because it already has cheese in the sauce. So we just add more sauce on top. Okay, so that's just it. And we just finished with the last layer. Okay, this is going to be yours. What would you prefer? Which one?
I'll have butter, please.
Butter. Okay. They're already starting, as you can see. I don't know if you want to show anyone that got distracted, but they're floating again. Oh, this is massive. I think these are at the end, I got a little bit less careful. So they got a little bit bigger. I don't went along. Sorry?
That's a different one. I'm joking.
They are so lovely and so delicate as well. You wouldn't believe, when you taste them, you wouldn't believe there's, mainly potatoes. So these are all done. All the gnocchi are done. And voila, that's it. You can turn the water off. So I just put here for the other one, I just put a little bit of the butter at the top. And we use this for pacherinas. You can give them a little mix in the bowl itself, but don't mess them up too much. They break quite easily. Okay, and here we are. So this is the butter and sage, and this is that one. Okay, and this is the pesto. Now is the best part, which is the tasting. This is our taste. My favorite is the pesto. Katerina, you must have one of these as well. You want to come the other side? Or?
Very, very nice.
These are delicious. Absolutely delicious. Hopefully you are at a stage where you're able to taste these with us.
Really lovely. The difference between these and bought ones, the bought ones are so chewy and very lump and very hard, aren't they? These just melt in your mouth. They're so nice.
This is the number 2. What do you think? This is the traditional Roman one.
Really nice. Get back to work.
Love the sage. Do you want to finish these off, Katerina?
Couple of awesome. That's from George. It will take me the rest of the day to clean up, but it'll be worth it, hopefully.
Yes, that's why. That's why myself. I left my traditional kitchen cleaning till after the cooking, because I know I'm messing with it.
Hasn't much to know what's next.
Okay, next week I'll do by popular request what a few of you asked me last week, and we'll do some lasagna. Okay, so another one of the traditional Italian dishes. Obviously, it's going to be vegan lasagna, so they won't have any meat in it. But I will send you the ingredients tomorrow. We'll try it. This past few weeks we've been really busy, so I've actually I haven't posted anything until the end of the week, like Thursday or even Friday sometimes. I will get back to start doing it a bit earlier now, so you've got more time to prepare it and go shopping if you need to. This is absolutely delicious. Sorry.
Carol will love it. We'll be making it later this week. Thank you, Luther.
You're welcome, Carol. And thank you very much for your contribution as well. It's really kind of you. And for those of you they have contributed this week, I will send you a thank you certificate as well, so that you know where your money has gone.
Right, Hilary says, looking forward to having a go at the gnocchi. Whenever I have had it in a restaurant, they have been very bland.
Exactly. I mean, you said it yourself. I'm really glad that you brought this up yourself, because when you say in a restaurant, there are a lot of Italian restaurants here in the UK. They are not proper. They're not proper, and they don't do proper cooking. Often the cook is not even Italian, and they just the name of the thing rather than the way that we eat it at home. And what I am doing with these classes is show you exactly how we do things at home. Okay, and this is one thing I can guarantee you. However the dish comes out looking, it will be very tasty. Because this is the way that, we don't eat things that are not tasty. So, and the other thing, I had another problem that I have with a lot of Italian restaurants here in England, is that often they don't do that little step that I showed you before, which is putting salt in the water before you cook your pasta. And it makes such a big difference. Even if the sauce is nice, if you don't put salt in the water, it will the dish that will come out, the pasta or the gnocchi, whatever, it will be very bland. So it's very important that you do that. And remember that even if you don't eat a lot of salt, that you're not eating that salt. It's just to flavor what you're cooking in it, and then you throw the water away. So don't worry about it that you're eating a lot of salt, because you're not. Okay, any questions before we conclude today's
Could I use
cooking
just
class?
plain flour? That's from Catherine.
Yes, Catherine. I mean, I will use, if you don't have double O flour, I will definitely use something like this, like the Italian multi-purpose flour. This will do as well. I would try not to use the one they use for cakes. It's a different type. So if any flour that's okay to be used for pasta, pizza, bread and something like that is normally fine. Okay, and not the one for muffins and cakes.
Rosaline, delicious.
Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you very much.
Is she eating hers?
Obviously, she said delicious. Can't stop eating this. Good. And we've been so nice that we still haven't given them to Francesco. So we will. So sorry today for going over time. Obviously, when we're making things like this, it takes a little bit more time. Next week, I said we're going to do lasagna, but I'm not going to be making the lasagna pasta myself, simply because not everybody has got a pasta machine at home. So I'll be buying those already the sheets of pasta already ready-made, so you can get the same things from your local supermarkets. Most of them have it. Okay, so thank you very much for attending. Any questions?
Catherine says, thank you, a great demonstration again. And Maria says, looking forward to the lasagna. Okay, great. Thank you very much again. Thank you for attending, and say you make me happy by doing that. And again, if you've got 2 minutes, for this, when I put the recipes on the new home, there is a place there for reviews as well. So I really appreciate it if you write a little review. Rosaline says, thanks, we'll post the pictures. And
thank you.
George in massive, great big letters, thank you.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. I'm really glad that you all enjoyed it, and I'll be seeing you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.
Looking forward to trying this. Looks delicious. That's good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.